I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them. We are going to die out here. And welcome to the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Ryan. Natural
I'm
transition.
Shane.
And that was the
Uh,
Blair Witch Project.
yeah, nice lighthearted way to start the episode.
Yeah, hopefully everyone, is having a good
Turn,
holiday
turn the,
season.
yeah, right. Yeah, we're right in the holiday season, just in time for an interesting episode. This is really a Ryan centric episode. We're doing top five found footage movies. So we each have a top five. Ryan has, I think, a long list of honorable mentions. I have a short list of honorable mentions. And yeah, we're talking about found footage movies. And I think we're also including like mockumentaries and screen life, as they call it, where it's like, you're watching the computer screen in live
Yeah,
time type of a thing. But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's found footage. It is obviously these are all fiction films, but they're presented as if they're real, you know, nonfiction recordings by either documentary crews or, characters in the movie. So that's the genre basically, and we're doing top five.
Yeah. The genre is pretty awesome in my opinion.
I'm happy for you.
The authenticity really gets you.
It's interesting. These movies, like I, the conceit is that they're supposed to be more authentic, but I feel like they often come off as less authentic to me because I can just see through it or something. I don't know. I'm not a found footage guy. It does not
Yeah,
really appeal to me. I don't know. Even when I am liking it, usually I feel like it kind of falls apart as the movie goes along.
that's fair. I mean, there is a lot of, I would say there is obviously a lot of fair criticism out there about found footage. I mean, I think it almost still is a pretty niche genre. I think a lot of people that like it, though, do like latch onto it. I think there's like, it almost like the genre itself pretty much has like a cult following.
Yeah, that's cool. And I will say it's interesting because for a while, I think in like maybe the late aughts into like the 2010s, that it was like a big boom of a boon. I don't know if there should be an N or an M at the end there, but there was an increase in found footage movies. And I think a lot of times it was I mean, it was obviously independent filmmakers who were trying to make movies on really small budgets, which is very respectable. But I think also a lot of studios just tried to cash in on it and figured, hey, we can make a movie for like no money. And if we make 10 of these and maybe nine of them suck and one of them ends up being a hit, we can make a bunch of money. So I feel like there is a cynical Hollywood aspect of the genre, but I feel like now we've kind of passed that era. And now it's sort of become, like you said, sort of a niche cult following for the genre.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think even a lot of the more like poorly made ones from the time, I think still get a lot of love in the niche today. Like I think a lot of people in like the cult following will like go back and watch things like Grave Encounters, which is like, there it's like a fake ghost hunters crew that goes to an asylum and gets locked in, right? From like 2008 or whatever it is. And no, that one's actually later. That might be like 2011 or something. But and like people will still go back with like very fond eyes, and like it's not a very good movie, but I think there's just so much I think the people like myself who are into the genre, I think have a lot of fun with the bad ones and a lot of good scares with the good ones, and so I think that's kind of interesting that even the like that boon in that time, a lot of those have found like fans, not quite like because it's like so bad it's good, but in like a this isn't really scary, but it is kind of funny and enjoyable way. So maybe that is so bad it's good. I don't know.
I get that. That makes sense. And I guess there is an element where most found footage movies are like horror. I feel like that's what you think of first. But most of my picks are either not really horror or they're sort of horror adjacent. I really only have one that's like a straight up horror movie. Everything else is a little different than that. Um, so yeah, maybe it's also me not being the biggest horror guy to where I'm not just down to just, you know, pile in all the horror movies. I'm kind of just picking and choosing the ones for me. So
Right.
so maybe that's also part of the reason the genre doesn't appeal to me because it is, I think, primarily horror.
Yeah, there like you said, there's definitely some things in the outskirts, and there's there was like a ghost team movie from like maybe 2021 or something like that. Kind of like more recent, that's like a almost like strictly comedy movie that's like set as them exploring a haunted house
Hmm.
and stuff. And usually it's funny because usually there's some good thriller ones, and I actually have a couple on my list, but the like comedy ones don't usually hit for me. It's like it's funny because I'm into the genre as long as it's trying to be scary or thrilling or whatever. But I like the it's funny because I actually feel like the humor ones like get me with like it just feels so fake, you know? Which is
Oh,
probably how you
interesting.
feel for the horror ones.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I think I don't know. Yeah, there aren't that many comedy ones. Like
Right.
straight mostly I feel like the comedy thing is usually more like almost like The Office, just like mockumentary,
Right.
maybe. But yeah, I see what you mean. But it's interesting. We both have different perspectives on it. Uh
Yeah.
and yeah, so this will be an interesting top five. Should I start off the top fives? Do you want to go first? I don't know.
You start. You
All
start.
right. My number five, this was a little bit tough for me to pick my fifth one. I didn't have one that like really I felt like I needed to have in here. I had a couple options, but I ended up going with What We Do in the Shadows, the 2014 vampire comedy, sort of vampire roommate comedy. It's kind of just a roommate, a movie about roommates, and they happen to be vampires. And yeah, this sort of falls into the I mean, definitely falls into the horror comedy and sort of spoof of vampire movies. But yeah, it's directed by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi. This is like a New Zealand movie, and yeah, they're like I said, it's a bunch of roommates who are vampires, and they have to deal with that. And a camera crew of non-vampires end up filming, and comedy and hijinks and some crazy shit ensues. And it's pretty cool. There's actually like cool effects in it of like they'll like float and fly and do kind of fun stuff like that. But yeah, this is definitely very much in the comedic sort of tone and genre within found footage. But yeah, I watched this several years back, and I remember it being really funny. I just remember it being an enjoyable, good time, and yeah, I that's why it's my number five, I guess. I don't have a ton to say about it. We're not talking fully in depth with spoilers or anything on this episode on any of these movies, so don't worry. But yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, and it spawned a whole TV show which I have not watched, but I think people like it. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I have seen this one. I do actually like this one. So there goes everything I said about the humor ones. But it's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember liking it. And I have seen some episodes of the show, but only like sporadically. Mostly because someone I worked with a bit ago had like used to like send me funny clips from episodes or tell me to watch an episode here and there. So I've seen only some of it, but from what I've seen, it's pretty funny. So I imagine that if people like the movie, there is just more stuff to watch there. So that's cool.
Yeah. And this one's like pretty popular. I don't think
Yeah.
this one is me. I'm not breaking any new ground with this movie. But yeah, I mean this definitely counts as found footage, but
Oh yeah.
I will say hmm, there's at least one other movie on here where it's like a documentary crew following people around. I feel like that is a very common way to get into this and
Yeah.
to set the found footage story.
Definitely. And found footage is kind of, I think, because it works on such a low budget, it has some of that forced creativity of like, okay, how do you make it so that the camera can be shaky and can be kind of amateurishly filmed at times, right? Or how can you make it so that you can incorporate how can you incorporate stuff like some I think they often will use like literal found footage too. Like not often, but like in that mockumentary style, sometimes you'll see like inserted clips from real things, right? And so um that's another way to then kind of get around kind of having a not having a huge budget, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yep. And oh wait, I was gonna say something and I just forgot. But a lot of these, like, I do think this distinguishes itself from some mockumentaries, because some mockumentaries almost like what's that show, Documentary Now, where they spoof different documentaries for each episode, and they'll do a spoof of what are Grey Gardens
Oh.
or a bunch of famous documentaries. And but those will be mockumentaries, and there'll be like talking heads, and there'll be it's more put together as a documentary. Whereas I feel like these ones, it's more just footage of people trying to film a documentary, and it's not like a polished final thing. It's just the footage itself.
Right. Which adds a lot to the it often like the found aspect of it, right? Like it wasn't actually fully put together, right?
Yeah, right.
Which is
The
cool.
thing I did want to say, I think a reason the found footage does not appeal to me is that the inherently by making a found footage movie, you're taking away a lot of things I like about movies, like
Mm,
nice camera angles, interesting cinematography. The camera has to be like kind of uninteresting in a way. I will say, Paranormal Activity, I think six or maybe seven. Is there seven of them? I don't remember. But
yeah, maybe.
there's one of them, and like they're like amateur filmmakers, and like he has drones, and they intentionally make him a little bit more like knows what he's doing, so they can have nice like drone shots, or like he can set up a nice shot on a tripod, so it's not entirely shaky the entire time. So I mean that movie wasn't very good, whichever one that was, like Paranormal Activity six or seven or whatever. But but I think that that was kind of a cool idea to spice up the cinematography a little bit because a lot
Yeah.
of handheld and shaky cam and stuff is does not appeal to me. So I think that's also a reason found footage doesn't work for me. But it works for me in What We Do in the Shadows. I thought it was really funny. So that's
Nice.
my number five.
Nice, nice. My number five is also on the mockumentary front, but this one feels more like it is a fully put together mockumentary or documentary. Um, it's like, it's edited with in a way where like it's supposed to feel like a full documentary that came out after some big event. It's called Death of a President. It's from 2006. It's a British mockumentary directed by Gabriel Range, who also co-wrote it with Simon Finch. Um, from what I can tell, I think Gabriel Range, I could have looked a little more into it if I cared, but I think he's like more of a documentarian. Like I think he's actually made some real documentaries. But this is an interesting one where it looks at if if Bush was killed while president, and so the
George W.
idea,
Bush, right?
yeah, George W. Bush. So the idea is that he gets assassinated, and um, it's a documentary kind of following the investigation into that and kind of the um like the outreaching effects of that, both on like foreign policy and internally, right? With like how like media represents what happens, right? And stuff like that. It's really interesting. It's got like a lot in there about like racial profiling and civil liberties and stuff, as you could imagine, probably. That totally get civil liberties that totally get thrown out the window and all that stuff. It's really creative. It's really interesting the way they put it together because it uses a lot of found footage, like real life footage that they repurpose for different things,
Oh, interesting.
which is always interesting and can be controversial. um, this is probably my lowest. I would guess that this is probably my lowest average rating. I think this one's a little controversial.
3.1 average
3.1.
rating
Hey,
on Letterboxd.
that's not too bad. um, it is a pretty underseen movie, I would say. I think this on Letterbox, I have it up right now. It says 2,000 views.
Wow.
um,
Super low.
and it is on Canopy. So if you have your library card, you can watch this. If you don't have that, first of all, go to the library. The second of all, it's
Hmm.
on Tubi too, if you really want to do that to yourself. Um, but I think this one's really interesting. It's pretty creative, and it's obviously political, and I think that brought some controversy with it. But I think it's still relevant today and really interesting. So to
Interesting.
highly recommend. And it's a step away from the horror. It's not really horror. It's more kind of political thriller, not political thriller, I guess, but thriller, right?
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's cool. It's kind of, I mean, yeah, definitely assassinations are a fascinating thing. So having this like fictional approach to it could be kind of interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, this came out like while he was president,
yeah, that's kind of
which is
crazy.
crazy. So,
Yeah,
he was obviously, I mean, there was a lot of controversy at the time with his handling of a lot of things, anyways. So I can
yeah. This is
imagine,
right after the start of the Iraq War.
yeah. And so there was a lot of like, it was very polarized, right? So I can't imagine that this documentary or mockumentary would have really helped if it was very well seen at the time, but it wasn't really well seen at the time, anyways, from what I
Hmm.
understand.
So is it like I've never seen the movie. So uh is it like he gets killed and then like everything gets better? Well, no, Dick Cheney would become president.
Yeah, I
So
think things get
becomes
worse, you know?
that probably makes sense. Pretty much anytime someone gets assassinated, well, obviously the assassination itself is horrible. You should not murder people generally unless, you know. But yeah, things don't get better after you just kill someone.
You guys heard it here first. No
Yeah.
political assassinations.
Yeah, probably a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is interesting to see, and especially because a lot of that bad stuff that happens, a lot of that's like here, right? Like yeah, it didn't lead to anything good, you know. So,
Hmm.
anyways, so it's an interesting watch. It's only an hour and a half, so it's like
Is it d does this movie go into like is it like a lone wolf assassin or is there a conspiracy behind it? Is there some sort of foreign entity that's involved? Is there like does it go in those type of
it does
directions?
go into looking at uh possible things of what could have happened. Like there is a whole it does explore that whole investigation of like what happened. Um and I don't remember how much it gets into like if there was like foreign agents involved, but
Hmm.
it definitely I think touches on it. But um yeah, the investigation is kind of a big piece of it, you know.
Right. That makes sense. Sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, cool. Uh all right, I guess that's on to my number four. My number four is a little movie that we actually have covered on the show. It's Wreck, the 2007 Spanish horror movie. This is my straight up horror movie on my top five. And yeah, this one, I mean, we covered it on the show, so we've already talked about it a lot, so I don't have to get into a lot of details. But yeah, it's a news crew. They go to an apartment building, and there's a basically zombie infection breakout thing going on. They get stuck in there, and the reporter there's it's basically the reporter and the cameraman, and then all the residents of this place, and so also some EMTs are there. And yeah, they have to deal with like a zombie virus type outbreak thing. I don't think that's a spoiler to say that. That's the basic premise of the movie. But yeah, I felt this movie like really well paced. It's only 78 minutes long, which is pretty impressive. Just gets right to business. And the climax is genuinely creepy and unnerving and well done. So yeah, this is a well-made movie and definitely I'm glad it's in my top five. Good movie.
Yeah. And we did talk a lot about this one. Good episode there.
Yes, it
And
was our found footage was the topic, right?
yeah, we
We
did
did Wreck and what was the other one we did with it?
Paranormal
Oh,
Activity.
oh yeah, Paranormal
Yeah,
Activity.
yeah. Yeah,
Not on my
Rec.
top five. Spoiler alert.
I love Paranormal Activity. Go back, watch that episode. I mean, hey, if you're here watching this episode, you would probably like to
Well,
hear
yeah, that's
an
true.
in-depth thing about those two movies. So, I won't say anything more about Rec. I love it. Also, also think it's an amazing movie. Strong recommend. Um,
Yeah, there you
I
go. That's all I have to say. Oh, what's up?
one cool thing I'll say about it actually, just to throw in there, is that it's on like it's a camera crew, like a TV crew. So they have like a shoulder cam. So they do run up and down a lot of stairs, but that is like, I think found footage is always trying to explore ways to limit that camera shake for a good reason. And I think they did a pretty good job for the most part with some of that.
Yeah,
But
I agree. It's the shaky can. It does get shaky at times, but
yeah,
also it's not the shakiest.
yeah. Also a very vertical building. a very vertical movie because it's really just up and down this one building. So that doesn't really
Less,
help with the shakiness. But
I guess that's fair. There are a lot of stairs. Yeah. That's the image I think of when I think of Wreck is that stair, that like
oh
entrance
yeah,
foyer or whatever with the giant staircase.
definitely. Nice, yeah, awesome movie. Strong recommend. I'm gonna go with a even shorter movie,
Whoa.
and yeah, that's right. And it's more recent. This is one that people have probably heard of, but it's Host from 2020. Um, this is only 56 minutes long.
Wow.
Yeah, it's co-written and directed by Rob Savage, also written by Gemma Hurley and Jed Shepard. Um, and this was shot all over Zoom during COVID. So this was like the first, like, or early in COVID. I think it came out in like July of 2020, but for like 12 weeks, they'd spent um, time recording this and all this stuff. They used a lot of like practical in camera effects with like fishing wire and stuff like that. Um, and it's impressive what they're able to do here, and it's a really cool version of screen life that felt so relevant at the time. And I think a lot of people can. It's almost like a snapshot of COVID, but it has some supernatural stuff obviously going on, which most of us probably did not experience over Zoom. But
Hope not.
I think for that reason, it's such a relevant movie that did get a lot of attention. Like when it came out, it kind of was like all over the place. But I think people kind of stopped talking about it, and I think it's worth revisiting to see kind of how well does that really represent how our COVID experience was. So obviously everyone had a different one, but um, just kind of neat to have those movies that are almost like snapshots of reality. And
Yeah, that is cool. This is another one that I have not seen. I mean, it's only 56 minutes long, so it's it's watchable, but yeah, I haven't seen it.
it is currently. It looks like it's currently on Netflix, Shudder, and Tubi. So a few
And
options to watch it.
and Hoopla.
And Hoopla. There you
There you go. All right, cool. I don't really have anything to add because I haven't seen the movie, but
go.
cool. All right, my number three. This is a movie, Matt Johnson's directorial debut, The Dirties. This is from 2013, and this is like two high schoolers who are, one of them, played by Matt Johnson, is like a huge movie nerd, and he starts filming his own movie. He starts trying to make his own movie, and the lines between what is the movie and what is real. He tries to make it with his friend, and I don't want to spoil where it goes or anything like that, but it's a pretty crazy movie, and a lot of it in the first half and the buildup is like this rapport between Matt and Owen, who are like real life friends, and like just them being in high school and filming this and being movie nerds. Like it's very enjoyable. And then toward the second half or the third act or whatever, it goes in a darker turn, and it's a fascinating movie. It's really great. I haven't seen this in many years since I think I've only seen it the one time when I first saw it. But really cool unique approach to found footage, I think, and just a really unique, well-made movie. And it's set, Matt Johnson on his cool career arc. So yeah, this one is definitely worth watching. I would recommend it. Only 35,000 views on Letterboxd, so a little bit underrated, I feel like, a little bit underseen. Uh I don't know if it's streaming anywhere right now. I think I saw this like on Netflix back in the day, which is a little crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. I have seen this one too, and this is a good one. It definitely dark. And
But it's so enjoyable for most of it. Like it's
yeah,
just comedic and enjoyable, and then it takes like a real dark turn. But I think it's really well done the way like they manage the tone and everything.
yeah, I agree. I think this is a good one. I would also put it on the recommendation list. I think it's also just cool to see. I mean, Matt Johnson's now done like Blackberry and stuff, so definitely like uh cool to see. I like this seems like early on Matt Johnson was doing some found footage stuff that was able to help propel him into doing bigger budget, bigger things, like
Oh yeah.
um yeah. I think
And
often like some directors just like do the found footage thing, but like it doesn't have to be your only thing.
right. Yes. And like they made this on like according to Wikipedia, a $10,000 budget. So it was very DIY and like just yeah, but it's really good despite the small budget, you know. And it got picked up and distributed. I think Kevin Smith was involved in like getting the movie distribution and getting it out there for people to see it. And yeah, it ended up being a pretty big hit for a small movie on a $10,000 budget.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And I feel like that's one of the again, I know we already said it, but like that's one of the powers I feel like of found footage. I mean, this is like, we did the whole episode on paranormal activity, so I won't mention it too much, but and I'm not mentioning Blair Witch, by the way. Not because it's not a good movie. It's a great movie. It'd probably be number one on my like my pure top five list, but I'm not gonna put it on my list because it's if you're watching this episode, you probably have seen Blair Witch. If not, I don't know. You should watch it. Like it's amazing. But at least I think so. But
It's the most influential for sure, like found
yeah,
footage movie probably of all time. So this can be the Blair Witch honorary list.
yeah. But and the two of those though, like Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity, were built off of such small budgets, like 10, $15,000, whatever, and blew up into multi-$100 million things. Like some of the biggest return on investments, maybe I think actually literally ever, right, for movies. So um really impressive. And so it's nice to see what people can do on such low budgets like this, right? So
Yeah, but I
um
would say The Dirties is better than both those movies. So
I wouldn't agree, but I do appreciate that. Yeah. Anyways, you know what? That's cool. My number three is an Australian movie. So we're going to the Big Island. Is that what they call it? Can I call it
no, The
that?
Land Down Under.
The
The Big
land down
Island is
under.
Hawaii,
Oh, well,
right?
Australia is a much bigger island, but
I mean, Australia is a continent.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know that it's an island.
What's a continent but just a big island?
I guess that's fair. I mean, I guess it's a fair point.
Anyways, um, but I'm
Going to the
picking
land down under.
land down under to look at a lake down under, Lake
Uh,
Mungo.
Lake.
Um,
I have also not seen this one, but this was one that came up and I kind of wanted to watch it, but I didn't.
it's this one's pretty awesome. I'm gonna be honest. This is 2008, so it's right in that early heyday. I feel like of found footage where you have like Wreck, Paranormal Activity, Cloverfield,
Hmm.
all sorts of really really cool stuff coming out, and it's written and directed by Joel Anderson, but it's his only film, which is crazy because this movie has received, I would say, a huge cult following. I think like a lot of people that appreciate the niche really like this movie. And it's mostly centered around the grief after a family loses, um, a daughter slash sister slash whatever, right? And there's some ideas of like paranormal stuff going on, maybe. But the way that they treat that in this movie is amazing. And the cinematography is actually really cool with some really awesome atmosphere and visuals that just really feel um eerie and creepy with the whole uh grief buildup that they're doing and like potential supernatural stuff. And it's such a good movie. This is like I would so strongly recommend this. And Jordan Peele apparently once said that this was like one of the movies that scared him the most. So uh if
Okay.
if that means anything to you,
Strong endorsement.
there you go.
This
Um
one, maybe that's why I didn't end up watching it for this list because I was like, oh, this looks good. It's probably creepy. And then I was like, oh, it's all about grief and sad. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch
it
it.
definitely, yeah, it definitely is on the serious front, right? I mean,
Yeah,
um yeah, it's sad, it's a little scary.
which is fair.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. say there's anything wrong with that, but you got to be in the right mood, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just watched Home Alone 2 the other day. Forgive me for not wanting to watch Lake Mungo. I'm in a good mood. What can I say? I watched a guy
Uh,
get zapped into a skeleton and survive.
and launched 4 bricks at his head, like
Yeah.
square in the forehead.
Yeah, fell probably about 30 feet flat on his
Yeah.
back, survived it. Awesome movie.
uh,
All right, back to the found footage. My number two, another movie directed by Matt Johnson, Operation Avalanche. This is a very, very cool movie. It's uh about it's from 2016, and it's basically these undercover CIA agents are sent to NASA to pose as a documentary film crew and discover a conspiracy to fake the moon landing. I think you can say that, and that's the setup for the movie, right?
well, they actually like the conspiracy is their idea.
Right. They
Yeah.
start like setting up the conspiracy basically.
Yeah, they like overhear that NASA might not be able to get there on time and stuff, so that they pose to the CIA, we can do this.
Right. And there's a lot of chaos that ensues, but this is another it's really really well made and it's cool because it's a period piece. It's
Yeah.
set in the late 60s obviously. And yeah, it's really impressive. It's very believable. They actually have to like they take into account that they're filming on film and they have to like reload the mag and the film will run out at times. And it's just a really well done, just great movie. Very thrilling also. I feel like sometimes found footage movies can be maybe I don't know how to describe it. The they rely a lot on not much happening. And they're like,
Mm,
these it's just people being scared. And they'll be like, oh, there's a ghost, like quote unquote. And it's just like a bang, and then people run and stuff. And that's a bad example of found footage, and I don't want to disparage the
yeah.
genre. But this one is the opposite of that, where there's shit's going on. It's actually like a really great story that just happens to be told in the found footage genre. And I think it really works for the story. But I think if they made this without found footage, it would probably be just as good.
Yeah, this is really cool. This I've seen this one also, and I adore this movie. It's high up there for me for sure. Um and there's just I mean there's so much cool stuff like you said with the whole taking account the film. There's even like you see a lot of scenes of them actually editing the film, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Um
They're editing the footage we've just seen like previously.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really neat movie, very very enjoyable. Like you said, it would be probably equally as good if it was made not found footage. Um,
But
but
they do take advantage of the found
yeah,
footage, like you
exactly.
said, with when we see a scene and then later on we see them editing the scene that we had seen just previously. Very, very that was a tough sentence, but I got through it. But yeah,
Yeah,
so it could be made in a different way, but I think choosing to make it found footage, like they made the most of it.
I was gonna say the same thing. Also, one of the coolest car chase scenes in a found footage movie, maybe ever.
Yeah,
Actually, I can't think of
certainly.
another. I have like 20 movies written on my paper here. And I can't think of a better car chase scene. So
There
pretty
might
cool.
not be any. I mean, part of the thing
Yeah,
with found footage is like generally trying to keep it in low budgets, and car chases are very expensive
yeah,
and like difficult to film. So there might not be many. And this one is really, really well done. That is a great scene.
yeah. Very good movie. Also, fun little tidbit here is they lied to NASA. Matt Johnson told NASA they were going in to like make an actual documentary about the moon landings, and NASA got really mad. So they were actually like on set, like in the NASA Space Center, and NASA got pretty mad when the movie came out.
That's awesome. It's art imitating life or something, life imitating art, because they're in the movie they're lying to NASA and to at
Yeah,
posing as a documentary crew, and then they did that to actually make the movie. Pretty sick.
yeah, nice. Yeah, my number two is only 2 years before Operation Avalanche. This is in 2014. This is a pretty well known one, but I've got to shout it out because it's still like it's not even uh in like the same breath as some of the biggest ones in found footage. So I got to say Creep, uh, which is Patrick Bryce. It's his debut film as a director. He wrote it with Mark Duplass, who uh, is there. The two of them also star in the movie. Um, and Mark Duplass is like the titular creep. And essentially, the idea is there's like a Craigslist ad, right? And this filmmaker goes to help record like a goodbye video because this dad is like not going to be around much longer, and he knows that, right? So he's trying to make a goodbye video, and it turns out to be pretty creepy. And the guy turns out to be maybe kind of a creep. See what I'm doing?
There you go.
But and Mark Duplass does like such a the acting in this movie is like pretty phenomenal for what it's going for. This was also it spawned a sequel, Creep 2, in 2017, and also a series, The Creep Tapes, from Shudder. That's a Shudder movie from 2024 that I haven't actually seen the Creep Tapes. I've seen the sequel. I like the sequel, but the Creep Tapes I haven't seen, but I've heard good things about from like pretty much everyone that I know that's seen it. So I
Gotcha.
gotta watch that at some point. This was also produced by Jason Blum, only not too long after he Jason Blum like made the Blumhouse Studios partly mostly from the money he made producing Paranormal Activity. So that was I guess 7 years before this or something. But pretty cool though. So
Yeah. So I will say, so far, I don't think I've seen any of the movies on your top five, right?
yeah.
And this one I've seen part of, and I turned it off.
Oh man.
I DNF'd this movie because I didn't like it.
Whoa.
I watched the first like I don't remember 10, 20 minutes or something, and I was like, I really did not like it, and I just stopped
Wow.
watching. Yep.
Wow. It's
So
only you made it like more than a quarter of the way through, probably. It's only like
I
70 something
I
minutes.
remember really not liking it. I think maybe there was a point where some quote unquote creepy stuff was going on, and I thought it was kind of silly, and then I was like, this guy should just run away.
Mm.
And maybe he never did. I don't remember. But well, obviously I haven't seen the whole movie, so maybe he does run away. I don't know. But yeah, this was a one that did not work for me, but it has a good reputation. Maybe people like it. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, yeah. I can understand, if you're not into found footage, it is kind of I mean, it's a pretty strictly found footage movie.
So, and this one
It's
is
kind of
straight horror, right? Like this is not trying to be a comedy at all.
well, I think there's some good comedy in it. I think it's appreciated in part for some of the comedic aspects. I don't know if it's intended to be a comedy, but it's certain. I mean, if anyone's seen anything about the movie, you know about the main mask, and the mask is pretty goofy, but it builds in. I mean, a lot of that builds into the creepiness that ultimately happens in the movie. Um, but I think people do appreciate the humor and the performance of Mark Duplass as like this kind of creepy but also kind of socially weird, funny guy.
Interesting. All
Like I
right,
would I would
cool.
hang out with him
Well,
for a little while.
yeah, see, that seems like a bad idea. I think immediately I was watching the movie, I was like, get away. Maybe that was a factor. I don't remember. This was many years ago. This was probably pre-COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
the movie's from 2014, so. But yeah, this was on, I mean, it says it's on Netflix now. I feel like this movie's been on Netflix forever.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think that
it's I think Netflix might have
like bought it.
I think this movie might have come out right to Netflix or something.
Gotcha.
Like early this would have been early when Netflix was kind of into
Yeah.
streaming. And it's
Yeah, doing the
certainly into
Netflix
like acquisition.
originals and
Yeah.
yeah, acquiring independent movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. I know this movie has a good reputation, and maybe I missed out on a good one, but I don't remember the context in which I watched it. I think I was watching it alone, and but I don't remember like anything else. I just remember watching the movie and being like, "This is not for me," and just not being with it. But there we go. All right, Creep number two. Time for the number one pick. It all comes down to this. My number one is the oldest movie on my top five from 1992, Man Bites Dog,
Oh,
the
nice.
the Belgian uh co- dark comedy, extremely dark comedy, where a documentary crew follows a serial killer around, and he serial kills, and he tells them about his serial killing ways and how he does it, and all this type of stuff. And it is a dark comedy, but also it is pretty messed up and genuinely creepy and unnerving at times, while also being like darkly hilarious at other times. Yeah, and this is it also like touches on the camera crew sort of participating in these crimes, how a documentarian could be partially complicit in, like, if you're filming these things, are you complicit in what's going on? So it does have some really interesting themes. And yeah, this is a great movie. Directed by like three uh Belgian dudes, and I'm pretty sure this is like the only movie they ever directed. I think one of them passed away at some point. Uh, yeah, in 2006, Remy Belvaux died. So, but yeah, they are also like in the movie as the camera crew, basically. Um, or maybe the camera crew, and maybe one of them plays the serial killer. But anyway, it's
Nice.
a great movie. This is a really great movie, and definitely I don't know how influential it is but it was ahead of its time, I think. This is a super early example of this sort of found footage mockumentary type of a thing. It's not really a mockumentary. It's found footage. But yeah, this is a great movie.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, 1992 is the same year as Ghost Watch, right? So it's like the very early, I think, stages of this stuff. It's still well before Blair Witch happens and stuff. This one is awesome because I haven't seen it, so I'm excited. Your number one pick, and I think you've
Nice.
recommended this to me before, and I still haven't watched it. So it's got to be
It I will
I,
say that this movie is available. It's on the Criterion channel and it's also on HBO Max.
nice,
So it's definitely out there available to watch. So
nice. I'll have just to do it.
yeah,
It's time.
it's fucked up. It's a fucked up movie, and but if you know what you're getting in for, it's pretty interesting.
Nice. Um, awesome. Well, my number one is not as fucked up, but it does get into the complicity of, the documentarian crew and all that stuff at times. This is, I part of the reason this is at number one is because it hits on a few different genre that I like. This is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. This is another in that like boon, right? This is 2006. Um, and the tagline here is Freddie, Jason, Michael, we all need someone to look up to. So this is a documentary crew follows a upcoming slash an up and coming slasher villain as they learn about how he does things like seeming like he's in two places at once and things like that. Um, as he starts to add to his body count, and you can throughout the movie. It's been kind of a little while since I've seen it. I should rewatch it soon because it's just really cool. But um, it's very meta, obviously, right? And
Yeah,
you can imagine while the movie's happening, another movie that is literally the slasher version of this, like the true slasher version of this, right? Where you're following the final girl and all that stuff. But here, that's not what you have. You have a really weird perspective on this stuff, right? And obviously, like I said, it gets into that whole complicity of the people that are just watching or whatever, right? And
yeah,
um, so it's really
It-
neat, really interesting, and pretty well received. This one is high in the cult following, and I think people like it. It's a pretty good one.
yeah. This is a cool movie. I have seen this one. This
Oh,
is
nice.
There you go. This is the only one I've seen in full on your list, and and yeah, I remember this was many years back. I saw it, and I haven't rewatched it anytime recently. But this is a really cool movie. It's yeah, like you said, it's almost like a behind the scenes different perspective on the slasher movie, which is very cool. I think it kind of came out at a weird time where it kind of went under the radar because it was a
Yeah.
little bit before Like it was before Paranormal Activity and that big found footage stuff, but it was also after the 90s slash meta slasher sort of revival. It's kind of in
Yeah.
between those two, and it kind of combines those two things, like a meta slasher and a found footage movie. So it is a very cool movie. Uh, yeah. So, and I remember this one also being like pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One of the tough things, and this is why I really haven't gone back to rewatch it in a bit too, is it's not like the most available movie, which kind of stinks. I just looked; it's
I
not really streaming anywhere right now. It's I think you might be able to like rent it on YouTube. It looks like, um, and otherwise, like I don't think there's like a good physical release of it. There might be, I don't know, but not that I know of.
at one point, I don't know if I still have it, but at one point I had a DVD of this
Oh,
movie, but I don't know that it was a good release, but it was a
yeah,
release on DVD of it. So that was how I watched it back in the day.
nice.
I
I don't
think I still have it
remember
somewhere.
I don't remember how I watched it back in the day. I think I watched it on like maybe Amazon Prime at one point or maybe Netflix or something back in the day. Um, but yeah, definitely a cool movie. And I think it does, like you said, it combines some cool genres that I think if you're a fan of one of those things, you might like it. And if you're like me and you're a fan of both those things, this could really hit that spot. So it
That
might even
could
be worth renting, to be honest, you know?
that could be your number one on your top five.
There you go.
If
There you go. It could be.
All right. Well, I feel like that was pretty solid top fives.
Oh my God, those are
Um,
amazing.
I will say I have a few honorable mentions. Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon is one of those honorable mentions. It had just been so long since I had seen it that it was uh, hard to put it in the top five. Another one is Chronicle, which is
Yeah.
a came out in 2012, I believe, and it's one of Michael B. Jordan's first movies, which is cool, and also Dane DeHaan is in it. And yeah, it's like these kids. There's like a meteor that crash lands. These teenagers go up to it and they get superpowers from the meteor, and it's found footage. They're filming themselves with their superpowers, and it's actually a very cool movie. Again, I haven't seen this one in a long time, but I remember liking this one. This was at one point this was my five, and then I figured What We Do in the Shadows I liked a little bit more. But
Nice.
it is cool, like having a big budget like superhero, a lot of effects, like it's kind of a different approach to the found footage genre.
Definitely. I like that one quite a bit too.
There we go. I will say Blair Witch Project, that's on my honorable mention. That is very influential and good movie. And then I watched, because I thought this might make my top five. I watched Spree, and I really liked it at the beginning. It's the idea is this kid wants it's came out in 2020, and this kid wants to be famous. He's posting on YouTube, he's live streaming, and he's not getting any traction. He's just posting out into the nether, and into the ether. And he just wants to be famous just to be famous. He has no talent, he has no skills. He just wants to be famous because he wants to be famous on YouTube or on the internet. And he starts driving a Spree car, which is like an Uber or a Lyft, a ride sharing car. And he starts live streaming the murder of his passengers. And that's the basic premise of the movie. And it is like genuinely pretty funny. And I think there is some good social satire of people wanting to be famous for no reason, just to be famous. People, and there's some interesting themes and interesting ideas, and it is pretty funny. But then as the plot continues, it kind of fell apart for me in like the third act. There are some stupid things that happen, but it was overall a pretty enjoyable movie. So I put it in the honorable mentions, especially because it being like all these collections of screens and live streams and all these different cameras in the car. Like it's a very 2020s version of found footage. So I think it is like notable within the genre.
Yeah.
And then another one that's notable within the genre is another one I watched for this because I thought it might make my top five is David Holtzman's Diary from 1967. It's like a young filmmaker who wants to make a movie about his own life and like his day-to-day activities. It's very like French New Wave inspired. There's some like more experimental. There's like slow motion and stuff like that. But it's also just this kind of fucked up voyeuristic guy kind of again wants to be like he wants to make a movie. He wants to be known and stuff, but he doesn't actually have anything to say. So he's just kind of a voyeur. And I think that is a big factor of found footage. And it is a cool movie. For this to come out in 1967, this is like so far ahead of its time. Very, very influential, cool movie. It's a little like, again, kind of like interesting ideas, not the most interesting story in the where it goes. It meanders a little bit, which is kind of the point because the guy doesn't really have like a story to tell. It does comment on that, but it doesn't make for the most exciting viewing experience. So that's why it's on the honorable mentions. But super fascinating movie that's worth watching if you're into the found footage genre. So those are my honorable mentions.
Nice. Very cool. Those are some good picks. I'll throw out a bunch of honorable mentions too. I'm not going to list off my whole list here, but I'm just going to say there's a lot of great stuff. I'm a big fan of the genre. Um, if you're not following me on Letterboxd yet, I am linked on our podcast Letterboxd, which is Mind Your Movies. And so you can find my link there. So if you're into found footage, I watch a lot of found footage stuff. So follow me there.
Yes, and I believe you have a list of found footage stuff on your account, right?
I do. I have a list. And uh, yeah. And so here's a few more things from that list that I think are pretty awesome. Um, I already mentioned Ghost Watch, but this is one that is pre Blair Witch and is just really cool. This is the BBC's like Halloween special one year where they didn't tell anyone that it was fake, and so it's like a crew of like actual um news people pretending to investigate a haunted house. And it's like really well made and interesting and fascinating. And it like actually scared a bunch of people, which is crazy. And the ethics of that are maybe still to be disputed, but it's a really cool movie to watch. So strongly recommend that. I also have to recommend speaking of the many different camera angles and stuff, Ganjam Haunted Asylum, which is a Korean movie from 2018. Um, and it's some people that kind of they go to explore a haunted asylum, but the cool gimmick here is that they're using all they're like everyone's like packed to the brim with cameras. You've got like a body camera on people. You've got like 7 people going into the asylum, and one guy like managing the live stream in the little hut that they have outside. So you get it's like this almost like taking found footage to the extreme of like, okay, they've set up a bunch of cameras in the asylum, so you get these weird camera angles. They also all are wearing like 3 cameras, and there's a
Wow.
guy in the tent. So it's like it's a really weird take on it, but it's pretty interesting. Not too long ago, I did a found footage class at the Coolidge Corner Theater here in Boston, and this was the only movie of the class that I hadn't already seen. So it was really cool to see this, and I thought it was really cool. So would strongly
Nice.
recommend that. Also, Noro, The Curse from 2005. So this is really early. This is a Japanese movie um, that also that explores some like potentially paranormal stuff going on, and it's uh, certainly some weird stuff going on, and there's like an investigator, and so it's following around this investigator who's trying to figure out what's going on, and stuff gets insane. Maybe like one of the craziest endings in one of these movies. So that's a strong recommendation. Really crazy movie. Um, also, a 2015 one called Hell House that is maybe not the best, but also really fun. So this is like a haunted house setup, right? Where like people are coming through the haunted house and there's like the people in clown suits scaring people, right? You pay to go in there and get scared and all that stuff. But stuff goes crazy, right? And so there's these like surveillance style cameras and you get like mixed in with that, you get like people's video, like phone camera things of what was happening when everything went down, right? And so it's really a cool one, and it kind of takes like a documentarian style of like what went down that night type of thing,
Mhm.
investigating what went down that night. So that one's really cool. And the last one that I'll say, and then I'll shut up, is The Legend of Boggy Creek, which is by Charles B. Pierce, who also made the town that said dreaded sundown. But this is from 1972, which is really cool. Very early take on this stuff. It's a mockumentary thing about some Bigfoot like monster that might be kind of troubling some people in this town, Boggy Creek. And
Cool.
the cool thing here is that it's like almost it like the cinematography is actually really gorgeous, and it's almost like filmed like a nature documentary in some
Oh,
ways, not in every way, but like in some ways. So it's kind of it also, I wouldn't say holds to the found footage aspect as strongly as things nowadays would, but it's pretty neat. It's definitely worth watching, especially considering it's like such an as if you're into found footage. I think anytime watching something like from the 60s or 70s that tries to take on that role is pretty fun. So
nice. That that's very cool. I will say maybe a very influential movie that we haven't mentioned is Cloverfield.
yes.
Having all those phone cameras and the camcorders and stuff and that taking all that like super that was a huge hit and like big part of the found footage uh boom in the like late 2000s. But yeah, that's a cool movie too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I guess that's that.
Cool.
Bunch of cool
Hey,
recommendations, and I'm glad we could do this. This is Ryan's like favorite genre basically.
yeah. Again, it's like one of those it's like so niche and cult that like I feel like the people I think that if people are like me, if you're into the genre, you're almost like you want to find like everything that's in it. You know, like many people that like the genre, I think really try to find a lot of things in it because it's such a unique perspective, right? Whether you love it or hate it, it is a unique take on making a movie, you know?
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad we could cover this. Plenty of recommendations there. Guys, if you're on YouTube or you can go to our letterbox as well and comment on some stuff, contact us there. What did we like forget? What did we miss? Comment down below. We're on YouTube. We're also on the podcast apps, Apple and Amazon and Spotify and all that. Um, and yeah, like we said earlier, you can go to our letterbox, mind your movies, all one word. Yeah, let us know what we missed. Let us know your favorite found footage movies. Yeah, and anything else you want to say about found footage before we go, Ryan?
It rocks. Keep watching.
Don't forget to mind your movies.